Welcome to our delicious adventure. I'm Alaa Almazon, and like many of you, I'm fascinated by the variety of food from around the world. Today we're diving into the world's strangest foods, dishes that might make you scratch your head a little. We're talking about things that crawl, wiggle, and ferment, foods that challenge our very notion of what's edible. Get ready to be amazed and maybe a little grossed out. Fasten your seatbelts because we're in for a wild ride. All right, folks, our first stop is the Philippines, where we'll encounter a street food delicacy that's not for the faint of heart, balut. Picture this, a fertilized duck egg incubated for about 17 days, boiled alive, and eaten straight from the shell. I know, it sounds a little out there, right? But that's the thing about balut. It's not just a shock to your taste buds. It's a cultural icon, it's a cheap source of protein, a beloved snack, and a symbol of fertility. Street vendors sell these little eggs like hot dogs at a baseball game. You crack the shell, slurp the savory broth, and then, well, you get to the main attraction, the partially formed duckling. It's got a mix of textures, crunchy bones, tender meat, and a little bit of feather. It's an explosion of flavors, gamey, salty, and surprisingly delicious. It's definitely an acquired taste, but trust me, the cultural significance and sheer audacity of this dish make it a must-try for any adventurous foodie. Next up, we're heading to the land of Vikings, volcanoes, and, well, let's just say some pungent foods. I'm talking about harkel, fermented shark from Iceland. Now, when I say fermented, I don't mean some fancy cheese-like fermentation. This is hardcore fermentation, burying the shark in the ground for months and letting it decompose. The result, an extremely potent, ammonia-like aroma, so strong it's been described as smelling like a porta potty on a hot summer day. The traditional way to eat harkel is in small cubes, chased down with a shot of brennivin, a strong Icelandic schnapps. It's a true test of your gag reflex, a daredevil dish that separates the Vikings from, well, everyone else. Would I recommend it? Let's just say it's an experience I'll never forget, but I don't feel the need to repeat it anytime soon. Hold on to your stomachs because we're about to dive into the world of cheese, but not the kind you find on a cheese board. This is casu marzu, a delicacy from Sardinia that's not just aged, it's crawling with insects. We're talking about sheep's milk cheese, intentionally infested with live maggots. These little guys, cheese fly larvae, break down the fats in the cheese, giving it an incredibly soft, almost liquid texture. Now, some people carefully remove the maggots before eating, but the truly adventurous, they go for the full experience, wriggling maggots and all. They say the cheese must be eaten while the maggots are still alive, otherwise it's considered toxic. I'm not sure about the toxicity part, but I can tell you this. Casu marzu is an explosion of flavor, pungent, sharp, and strangely addictive. It's proof that one culture's trash is, well, maybe still trash, but it's delicious. Fascinating trash nonetheless. From Italy, we're heading north to Sweden, where they celebrate the arrival of summer with a festival dedicated to fermented herring. That's right, folks, I'm talking about surströmming, the notoriously pungent, eye-watering fish so strong it's often eaten outdoors, preferably downwind from anyone unsuspecting. Surströmming is made by fermenting herring in barrels for months, allowing just enough salt to keep it from completely spoiling. The result, a culinary hand grenade that explodes with an aroma comparable to rotten eggs, sewage, and a gym locker room after a marathon. But here's the thing, the taste is actually milder than the smell. Kind of like a salty, fishy, funky explosion in your mouth. It's traditionally eaten on thin, crisp bread with potatoes, onions, and sour cream, a combination that somehow works to tame the beast, at least a little. Let's take a break from the smelly fermented stuff for a moment and head over to Mexico, where we'll indulge in a delicacy often referred to as insect caviar. I'm talking about escamoles, edible ant larvae that nest in the roots of agave plant, the same plant tequila is made from. These little guys have a surprisingly delicate, buttery, nutty flavor. They've been a source of protein in Mexico for centuries, dating back to the Aztecs. You can find them in tacos, omelets, or simply sautéed with butter, garlic, and a squeeze of lime. Don't let the whole insect thing deter you. Escamoles are a true delicacy, a testament to the resourcefulness and deliciousness of Mexican cuisine. Our next stop takes us to Korea, where we'll encounter a dish that's not for the squeamish, sanakji, live octopus. That's right, folks, I said live. This dish is served fresh, with the octopus chopped into bite-sized pieces while it's still wriggling. Now here's where things get ... interesting. Because the octopus is still alive, the suction cups on its tentacles are still active. That means that as you're chewing, there's a very real chance those suckers could latch onto your mouth, your throat, basically anything they can grab onto. It's culinary Russian roulette, a test of your chopstick skills and your ability not to choke on a still-moving cephalopod. It's an adrenaline rush on a plate. And if you can get past the mental hurdle, the flavor is surprisingly delicate, a subtle sweetness with a hint of the sea. From the raw and wriggly, we move on to something a little more aged. Our next destination is China, where we'll delve into the world of preserved eggs, specifically century eggs. Now, don't let the name fool you. These eggs haven't actually been around for a century, though they might look like it. Century eggs, also known as thousand-year-old eggs or preserved duck eggs, are made by preserving duck, chicken, or quail eggs in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, quicklime, and rice hulls for several weeks to months. The result? The yolk transforms into a dark green, creamy center, almost cheese-like, while the white becomes a translucent, jelly-like brown. The aroma is pungent, to say the least, with a distinct ammonia-like scent, but the flavor is surprisingly complex, salty, earthy, and strangely addictive. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter the realm of truly daring foodies. Our next stop is Cambodia, where we'll encounter a street food delicacy that's not for the faint of heart. Fried tarantulas. Yes, you heard me right. Those eight-legged creatures that send shivers down your spine are considered a delicacy in some parts of the world. In Cambodia, fried tarantulas are a popular snack, often sold by street vendors alongside other fried insects. They're typically seasoned with salt, sugar, sometimes chili, and then deep-fried until crispy. The result? Crunchy legs, a chewy body, and the abdomen? Well, the abdomen is an adventure in itself. It's said to have a creamy, custard-like texture with a flavor that falls somewhere between crab and chicken. It's a true test of bravery, a daredevil dish that's sure to impress or disgust your friends back home. Our final destination takes us to Southeast Asia, where we'll encounter a fruit so controversial, so notorious for its smell, it's often banned from public transportation. I'm talking about durian, the spiky, pungent, unforgettable king of fruits. Now, the smell of durian is, well, it's an experience. Imagine a mix of rotten onions, gym socks, and turpentine all blended together into one pungent aroma. It's a smell that can clear a room faster than a fire alarm. But here's the thing. Behind that pungent aroma lies a surprisingly sweet, custard-like, and complex flavor. Durian lovers describe it as a creamy, almond-like sweetness with hints of cheese, garlic, and caramelized onions. It's a fruit of contradictions, repulsive yet alluring, offensive yet addictive. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through some of the strangest foods around the world. We've explored the fascinating, and let's be honest, sometimes bizarre world of culinary traditions. From fertilized duck embryos to live octopus, we've pushed the boundaries of what most people consider edible. Which of these strange foods would you dare to try? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more culinary adventures.